In today's video, we will be talking about higher order components in React. So, if you have been using React for some time, that we have, so we might have felt the need of having copies of the same logic in multiple components. Let me count a few cases to you. So some of the cases are the infinite scroll in 3 different views, all having different data, components using data from third-party subscription, app components that need logged in user data, showing multiple lists, for example, users location with search features, enhancing different card views with same borders and shadows. So you might have wondered if there is a way in React to share logic across multiple components without having to rewrite it. Well, yes, you are right. This is an advanced technique to handle such cross-cutting concerns called higher order components, aka HOCs. So in this video, we will understand the higher order components in depth, when to use the pattern, and cover different use cases with real life examples. Let's start by understanding how this pattern evolved from functional programming. So first of all, let us understand the functional programming. One trend that has started gaining some serious traction in the past couple of years is functional programming. The traditional object-oriented approach encourages decomposition of a program into objects that relate to a particular domain. In contrast, a functional approach guides the developer to decompose a program into small functions which are then combined to form an application. React, and in fact modern JavaScript, utilizes a lot of functional programming techniques alongside imperative code such as purity, side effects, idempotent, function composition, closures, high order functions, currying, lazy evolution, etc. Before moving further, I suggest you take a look at pure functions and side effects from functional programming. We have a video related to both of these topics, so you can check that out. Now let us dive into understanding high order function and higher order components with the help of examples. So first of all, a higher order component takes a function as an argument and returns a function. React's higher order component is a pattern that stems from React's nature that privileges composition over inheritance. Let us try to understand it with one example. So now let us go ahead and see some of the examples in the higher order components to see how we are going to write this function. So these will be very simple examples. So I have just created a JavaScript file and an HTML file to show you the output. So this is my index.html and I'm running it inside my browser. I have just added the heading of example higher order components, and I have added script source of my JavaScript file, that is example.js. So now let us write ahead our code. So here we are creating a function twice. It has a parameter f and v, and it is going to give me f of v. Next we are going to add another function, that is const add3. This will give me v plus 3, and then I will add a console.log statement, because without that we can't see the output. So then I will just write twice, and inside twice I will add 3 and 7 as an argument. So now if we save the file, then let us see what output do we get. So we are getting 13. So you can see that this is what the expected output was. We were expecting 13, right? Now this is a higher order. This is a functional programming example where we are giving the function, higher order function. A function is an argument, it is returning also a function as the return statement. Let us see another example. So again we will write const filter, and it will take 2 arguments. First is predicate and xs. What we are going to do is we will assign it to xs dot filter, and we will pass the argument of predicate. Next we'll create const is. It will have type. It is going to return x. Object x, and after that it will be instance of type. You might have studied about instance of. Now we will add the console.log. Here I will add filter, and inside filter I will add is, and then I will pass number as the argument, and an array with 0, 1, 2, and null. So here we are expecting the output of an array with 0 and 2. So now if we save the file and refresh, okay, so this is x, not s. So we are getting the output of 0 and 2. So you are getting the same output. Okay, now let's move ahead and see one more example. So we'll create const with counter. This takes fn as an input, and then it is going to return a function. So inside that we will add let counter is initially 0, and it returns the copy of the arguments. Next we will add console.log statement, and we will add just counter is, and here we will change this plus plus counter, and we want to return the function with the copy of the arguments. Now after this we will write const add, and here we will give 2 arguments x and y, and we are going to return x plus y. So x plus y. and another const, this is named counted sum. So here we will use our with counter and we will pass the argument add. Now we will do a console.log for some arguments that we will give. So counted sum, and inside counted sum we can give any argument like 2 or 3, and let us give one more argument. Say 2 and 5. Now let us try to see the output. Yeah, so instead of returns, this was the S, so we have to add a return. I typed wrong. So after that, when we save the file, then we will get the following output. That is, the first one we are getting the counter is 1, and after adding we are getting 2 and 5. If we'll add 2 and 3, then we are getting the output of 5, and the next statement we are getting 5 plus 2 is 7 and the counter is 2. So this was it about simple examples of higher order functions. Now let us go back to higher order components. A higher order component function, it is a function that takes a component and returns a new component. So that is the difference in a higher order. Higher order component takes a component as an input and returns a component. React's higher order components is a pattern that stems from React nature that privileges composition over inheritance. So after seeing this example, we are going back to our VS Code, and then we will see some other examples of higher order components. So let's go ahead and create a new component. So I'm inside my file, inside my components folder, inside hello.js. I'm going to create a class component using the code snippet RCE and get rid of this export. And let us just rename this file to higher order components, HOC. Okay. So now we will also change this to HOC. Now we will create a const higher order component, and we will add it to a wrapped component and pass it to an arrow function, and then we will wrap the whole thing inside this. So inside the render we will just return our wrapped component. So just get rid of this and add wrapped component, and here we are going to return HOC. So this is our final component. Here higher order component is a function that takes a component called a wrapped component, but actually we haven't created this component, so we will not get any output. It takes the component wrapped component as an argument, and we have created a new component called the HOC, which returns wrapped component from its render function. While this actually adds no functionality, it depicts the common pattern that every higher order component function will follow. So to invoke the higher order component, this is the syntax. This is const simple higher order component, and we will assign it to higher order component, and then we will add the name of our component, that is my component. A higher order component transforms a component into another component. Note that a higher order component doesn't modify the input component. Rather, a higher order component composes the original component by wrapping it in a container component. A higher order component is a pure function with zero side effects. We have already discussed side effects in our previous videos, so you can check that out if you do not know what is side effects. And we also have discussed pure functions in a separate video, so do check out that video and do like that video. Now we will be moving towards a more practical higher order component approach, and we will code that. So let us say that we want to create a list of products with a search feature. So we could like to store our products array in a flat file and load it as a separate component. Okay, so we will add a products file, we will create a product.js, and then we will import it inside that. So we'll create our first component. So inside my components folder, I'm going to create my first file, that is product card.js. So we have already created our product card.js file. So we will be moving on with that. So this component is a functional component that handles the presentation of our data. The data, or I should say the product, will be received via props, and each product will be passed down to the product card component. So let us create it. So first of all, we will create a const and we will name it product card. Product card, and we will pass props here as the argument, and then we will start writing. We are also going to import React from React, and then we will be writing our statement. So first we have our return. Inside return, I'm going to add a div. Inside this div, we are going to have a p tag, and I will add a bold. So here we will displaying the title. This title is going to display props dot title, and similarly we will be copying this and we will be adding other components also. So instead of title, we will be adding style. And with props also we will be adding style. Next we will be adding the price. After price we will be having the description. And lastly, about the shipping. So for free shipping, we will display that free shipping, and with props we will add is free shipping. Now we need a component that will iterate over the products or the data using the map function, and we will call it products list. So the new component will be products list. .js. This component will render the data in a product card component. So again we will create a const product list, and then pass props. Now here we will add a let statement, data assigned to products, which is given props, and then we will add our return statement. So in return we will having a div. Inside this div we want to give a little bit of space, so we will be adding 3 divs, and then we will add an h2 which will say products. And lastly we will be having one more div where we will display all the products. So here using products dot map we will pass product as the argument, and we will call our product card component. The key is assigned to product dot SKU. So this is how we are going to add our component. Now we want that our user should be able to search for items using an input field. So the list of items displayed on the app should be determined by the state of the search. This is a stateful component with user input stored in state value called search term. So we will create another component that will be products list with search. Now we will be creating a products list. So for that we will be creating a JSON file, or you can also create a JavaScript file in which you will store all the products. So I will name this products.json. Here we will be adding const products, and then we will add all the attributes inside an array. So for that we will have some attributes like available, sizes, and you can give whatever size you want, so S and M. Next we will add currency format, and this currency format is of the type $. Next we will add currency ID, that will be USD. Description is say 4 MSL. Next you can add as many attributes as you want, but do mention the attributes that we have mentioned there, and extra attributes that depends on you. Give it an ID of 12 or whatever you like. Next is installment. So the installment is 9, and we have also added free shipping. So again we will write is free shipping, and then set it to true. Another important thing is SKU. So SKU is a random number, so you can write anything like that. And also style and title, because that will be displayed. So the style is black with stripes, or black with custom prints. Last we will add the title. So the title is cat T black T-shirt, and then you can add on other products also. So again we will just copy this and we will change some things, and you can add 5 to 6 products. Now moving on, we will be creating another component. So for the search functionality, so we will be creating the component that is products list with search.js. Here I am going to import products from products.json. And then we will be creating our class product list products list with search, which will extend the React component class, react.pureComponent. Now we will have a state. This state has a search item, search term, and that is an empty string. Next we will have a method handle search. So handle search, which will take an event and then this dot set state, and here we are going to pass search term. This is assigned to search term is assigned to this dot state. search term is assigned to event dot target dot value. This is assigned, so we will put a colon. Okay, next after this we will add the render method. So render, and then we will add const search term. Search term is assigned to this dot state. Next we are going to call filtered products. Filtered products. Now after this filtered product, we will be assigning the filter products, and inside that we will be adding the argument search term. So filter products and then search term. After this we will add the return statement. And for return we will be adding a div. Inside this div we will be passing an input for the search bar, and it has an on change of this dot handle search. It will have a value of this dot state dot search term, and lastly the type will be text. Also adding a placeholder. The placeholder will be search. After adding the input, we will render the product list. Product list and products, and here we will be adding the filtered products. After this we will add the const filter products. We haven't defined that yet. So const filter products, it takes search term as an input, and search term is assigned to search term dot to uppercase, and we also have a return inside this. So we are going to return products dot filter, and here we are going to pass product and assign it to an arrow function. We are letting a const, a variable, and we will be displaying that. So the product title will be displayed, product dot title. Next we will also display the product style, product dot style. Next we will display the SKU, product.SKU, and then to uppercase. Also we will return str dot index of search item. So this is how we are going to get the output of whatever we search. So if it is greater than or equal to 0. The search term is given a state of an empty string here, and the value entered by the user in the search box is obtained to and used to set the new state for search term. Now what if we want to render a list of users with search functionality too? So we are going to create a new component similar to this one, and we will call it users list with search. So basically what we are doing is we are converting our products list with search component into a higher order component. Now you may notice that we will have to repeat our search logic in both the components, and this is where we need a higher order component. So we will create a higher order component called with search. So inside my components folder I'm going to create a new file, and we will call it with search. .js. Here we are going to create a class component, so RCE, and we will create a const with search and call the wrapper component wrapped component. Then class with search extends react.component, and we will be copying some of the things from our product list with search. So the state and the handle, this is same, so we'll just copy and paste it with search. So here we will have state, next inside our render we will have same these two components, and so this is not a const, it will be let here, and inside the return, so here we will be adding our input, and we will modify this. So first is the input tag, and the second, instead of product list we will have the wrapped component, and here we will add the data. This data is assigned to filtered products. Next we will add with search dot display name, with search dot display name, and here we will add with search, then get display name. Passing a wrapped component as the argument. Lastly, we will return with search. Next, I will add a const get display name. We will define that a wrapped component as the argument, and then we will return wrapped component dot display name, and we are going to check for the wrapped component dot name, again or, and we will check component now we will create a const product list with search, product list with search. So here we will render out product list with the search feature. This will have with search with product list as the argument, products list. Lastly, inside our app.js, we will be, let us just remove it from here, and we will add this component inside our app.js instead of text provider, and we will be adding the const, and we will also auto import all of these. So import product list with search, and we will just display our products list with search. Now if you save our file and render, then we first imported the higher order component, then we added a filter method to filter the data based on what the user enters in the search input. Finally, we wrapped it with the search component, and this is the function of the higher order components in action. So now if we look at the output, then you can see I have added a few more products inside my product.json. So you are seeing that I have a few products here that are being displayed. So this is the product that we added, black with custom prints, cat t black t-shirt. Now if I search for this cat t black t-shirt, so you can see that I'm getting the output of search as I expected it to be. Let us search for some other. Let us search for this dark. So you can see I'm just typing any of these and it is giving me the output. if I try to search front print, so you can see whenever it is saying front print, it is giving me that type of output, and it is filtering the output according to whatever I am typing in this input box. Now talking about the debugging of the higher order components, it can be hard as we have multiple instances on the same higher order component on the same page. So to tackle this, we can choose a better display name which communicates that it is the result of a higher order component. For example, if our higher order component is named with search and the wrapper component's display name is product list, so we should use the display name with search and product list as an argument passing that. Next thing I want you to know is we must not use higher order components inside the render method. React's reconciliation process uses component identity to decide whether it should update the existing subtree or mount a new one between two renders. This means component identity should be consistent across renders. Also, when a component's state changes, React has to calculate if it is necessary to update the DOM. It does this by creating a virtual DOM and it compares it with the current DOM. So in this context, the DOM will contain the new state of the component. If you are using higher order component inside the render method, then the identity of higher order components must be preserved across the render, and that affects the overall app performance. But the performance here isn't just about performance. Remounting a component causes the state of that component and of all of its child components to be lost. So instead, we should apply higher order components outside the component definition so that the resulting component is created only once. Using static method on a React component isn't useful, especially if we want to apply higher order component on it. When we apply a higher order component to a component, it returns a new enhanced component. In effect, the new component does not have any of the static methods of the original component. To solve this, we can use hoist non-react static to automatically copy all the non-react static methods, but we won't be discussing that. Lastly, another important point I want you to remember is refs are not passed through. What I mean by that is you may want to pass all props to the wrapped component. However, you need to pay attention to refs since they are not passed through. This is because ref is not really a prop. Like key, it is handled specially by React. So the solution to this problem is to use React Forward Ref API. So a quick recap. At the most basic level, React higher order component is the function that returns a class and is the implementation of functional programming principles in our code base. It is also possible to pass higher order components into other higher order components since typically they take components as input and return other components as output. This can introduce unnecessary nesting into our component tree though. Libraries such as Redux Connect, Redux Routers with Router are good examples of why we should think about implementing higher order components. We use higher order components to primarily reuse logic in React applications. However, they have to render some UI. Hence, higher order components are inconvenient when you want to share some non-visual logic. So in such cases, React hooks seem to be the perfect mechanism for code reuse. So that was it about today and higher order components. Do like our video, subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next video.